Good evening, everybody. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading on November 23rd, 2024. I have another testimony story. I've been holding off on it because there are so many emails and attachments that are involved, and it's very hard to organize because it didn't arrive to me in a very organized manner. But I'm going to read to you what I have and then show you what I've got. And I don't know how to share screen, so what I'll do is I will lift my phone up to my laptop screen, and you'll see what I'm looking at after I describe it, okay? So let's start off with, let's hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel grow, get the message out there. My name is Lorraine. For anybody who is new, welcome. I moved from Manalapan, New Jersey, 52 Sutton Drive, and a home I lived in for 30 years as original owner, and I became targeted there. It appears as if the Manalapan, New Jersey Police Department was infinitely involved in harassing me. Not only me, but there was another divorced single mom of 2 girls down the block from me, and they did the same thing to her. I'm not sure whether or not she knew what was happening to her. They ended up moving. Harassing her, and she ended up dying somewhere else and left behind, 2 teenage girls. But they don't care. They don't really care. And I'm sure that you've heard story after story about this, how involved the police are, But let's start off with, I am powerful, you are powerful, and we are powerful together. And, as everybody always says, no one's coming to save us, so we have to save ourselves and band together. So, targeted individuals, also known as TIs. This is crimes against humanity. It's human trafficking by subhuman psychopaths. They tend to target independent thinkers, people who care about the world and people, empathetic people, intelligent people. We have a moral compass. We're change agents, and they fear us. They also target certain families, family members, astrological types, personality types. They target you for your land, neuro rights, women, animals, men, children, intellectual properties, kids, and pets. They don't leave no stone unturned. And guess what? They're all complicit. They'll go along to get along. They're all complicit. The sheriff's department, the county lawyer, your mayor, your neighbors. They're all complicit. Sometimes you're placed on the list of revenge for hire. I just received another email. Now is going to be the 4th woman that I know who was involved with a copper and divorced him or broke up and then was placed on the list. So these coppers, they know about the program, and these little weenie boys, they don't like it when you break up with them. Well, too bad, Maybe the reason you're getting broken up with is because you're neurotic, psychotic. You're a pill popper, you're a drug addict, you're a control freak. Oh, that's top of the list, control freak. It's revenge for hire. Vigilante, vendetta, vindictive. They want to ruin a competitor, shatter a reputation, destroy an ex. They want to win back a lover. They drain their crypto. It's an international team of operatives. It's psychological warfare. They want to influence the opinions, emotions, behavior of the enemy. Oh, and guess who the enemy is? It's you. It's you and me. We're the enemies. Yeah, they really like to go after senior citizens. We're such little terrorists. Yes, we are. And they have psychological operations. They like to employ the psychiatric reprisal, and they like to punish the truth teller. If you tell the truth, no, you're not allowed to tell the truth. You have to be a liar. You have to be a liar. And one of these, like your neighbors, like one of these, here, check it out. These little sheeples, they go along to get along. Oh, they have to fit in together. Oh, let's band together against that senior citizen. She's such a terrorist. Oh, we're so afraid of her because she's so different. She's She's so different than us. She actually thinks, and we're afraid. Oh, and yes, corrupt cops, they fake incident reports or don't have incident reports at all. They have citizen informants, which are your perps, neighbors, operatives. Some of the tactics they employ, it's a criminal collaboration. They swarm. They're like a bunch of bees, a bunch of little bee, like cockroaches, little bugs, little ants. They swarm. They're organized crime groups. They are when they talk about the zombie apocalypse, they're talking about your perps. The zombies are the gang stalkers. I hate that term, by the way. The only reason I will hashtag gang stalkers is because everybody knows what that is. It's organized stalking, organized harassment. There's that song. They want to control your mind and steal your soul because they don't have it. They want what you have. Because what you have is a lot better than what they have. Even though they may have more physically, right? More financially, they still want what you got. They will stonewall. Stonewalling is a tactic of refusal or avoidance of engaging in a meaningful dialogue. They deliberately shut down communication. But just remember, you know what? It's a secret. Shh. It's in the name of national security. We can't talk about it. It's the biggest open secret, but shh. Nobody's supposed to know. Not supposed to know. Don't talk about it. Historically, what can you do? Do not participate. Don't participate. Just say no. Expose them. It's organized persecution. It's a smear campaign. They send out warnings about the target. Gang stalking subculture. It's a little bunch of weenies. You know those kinds, like when you were growing up, the ones that never fit into school. They were the ones that were always trying to get attention in the back of the classroom. It's no different now. It's no different now. Now they're adults. Now they're adults. And they're doing the same thing. They still want to get your attention. And they'll honk their horns and swarm together and do the color coding thing, which I could care less about. It makes no difference to me what color car they're driving. In fact, my father told me when I was growing up, he didn't understand why like people had red cars, because red cars are charged more because red cars tend to drive faster than others. I don't know. Maybe that's a statistic possibility in the insurance company. But anyway, we're going to talk about a testimony. Now, again, I have multiple emails, and this is from Matson. Okay, he says, our first names are fine. My wife's name is Karen. We both grew up in Eastern Pennsylvania and met at a graduation party after seeing her with a new friend for a moment late the night before. I had just moved into the city in the Lehigh Valley near Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton area. From being a backwoods country boy from the Pocono Mountains, I moved to the city and loving it. I met somebody new every day, it seemed. Next day, another new friend. And I was walking around, just hanging around, and I told him of Eddie stopping by, E-D-D-Y, stopping by, and I saw a girl with long, beautiful hair with him. Not long after, a car with two girls pulled up to talk and to invite him to a graduation party. When they drove away, I asked him if we were going to that party. He said, I don't know. And I excitedly told him the girl on the passenger side was that girl. It's her man. Who is she? He says, what are you talking about? I said it again. The other girl with her. That was her. He said, her? Who? And I step up in front of him and I stop him, and we are face to face, and I tell him loudly, the girl with the hair, man. The girl with the hair. That's the night I met Karen. I was 19. Wait. I was 19 and she was 17 We moved to Iowa in 1981 to help my father in his business, and I spent the next 18 years running a garbage business. We had a busy and productive life, always doing the things we chose to do. Broke or not, money was always enough to get the things we wanted to do and the things we wanted to do. We owned a cabin on the river and spent almost every weekend there. It was there back something like 2002 when I think some parts of this began. So that's 2002, okay? He says, please forgive me for sending this incomplete, but there are some things I need to do, and I think I've written this down somewhere on notes, and I will find it and edit it in a couple of hours from now. Thanks again, Kenny. So now this is, it gets confusing because the email name is different from the name that he writes here. So I'm not sure. Well, you're going to have to, when I send this to you, you'll have to tell me. So he says, this photo is a UV light on the freezer. The gas is coming from the seam. He says, I'm happy to share some things with people that I've noticed and then watched for repeating with any consistency or for other similar factors to string together as clues to learning how to figure out and how and why are they doing these things to us, and ultimately what we can do to stop them from having free reign to act on these things with impunity. Okay, so I'm going to show you the photo they sent to me. This is a photo of a UV light on the freezer with gas coming out from the seam. Okay, let me show you. You see that? That's the gas coming out from the seam. It's a pretty color blue, isn't it? That's a UV light, and this is what he's seeing. Okay? So that's one. Now, this is a photo. He says, this is a gap. And let me show you. And I've experienced this, what I'm showing you here. Let me just read what he says. He says, this is a gap purposely made for the gas's movement through the house. And those three strange things are nails I pulled from the stained area where the gas ran through and built up a deposit of what? On them. So the gas is built. These are screws. Look at this. Let me show you. And the gas that was running through there, you could see that it's a screw. You could see, right? It corroded and rotted them out. This is a buildup of the gases on the head of the screw. Have you seen anything like that? Is that horrible? Now let me just scroll up again here. He's got some good photos. And you see here? This is what they do. They go to separate the wood and leave a gap or an opening here. Here, check it out. Okay, so now let me find the other emails. This is going to be a little disjointed. He says, I'm sorry for the multiple emails. Attachments, they're not cooperating with the emails that I just sent. Instead of getting ready for another attachment, this is the last one for this stuff. This is the drain pan from the defrost. The fan blows over it, and it is the yellowish orange color that is the stain from whatever throat gagging, throat burning, nose burning, eyes burning, short breath, wheezing, making nasty chemical that it is. They must do some reworking of the refrigerator to have this chemical coming out through the seams and be in the melted water. It leaches an oily film on the inside walls of the fridge, and I know for a fact it is running to blow the gases more than it needs to run for defrost or cooling down. And the loud pops that it makes, I have that too. I have exactly the same thing, the loud pops. It never used to do that, but now it runs as soon as there is movement in the house in the morning. Even the other end of the hall, nearer to our bedroom in the bathroom, as if motion detectors turn on the programming to start the morning dosage of gas treatments. I know where the sounds and clicks and pops are regularly coming from inside a wall. And let me show you the photos that he sent along with this explanation. So here's the drain pan. And you can see here that yellowish stuff. And I experienced that in New Jersey on the walls. That's exactly what, exactly. I mean, so you've got a UV like, I was using a black light, but I could see exactly what you're seeing here. Now let me see if there's anything else here. Any other? Okay. And I think we've got another couple of emails here. Just, I responded to him. I said, I received this. I have the same yellow, disgusting, drippy stuff in New Jersey and also Kentucky, mostly in the bathrooms. It interacts with moisture. Let's see. He says, this is an attachment from something I wrote to Nick and never sent it. So I started to edit it for you, but in the interest of getting this done, I gave up, and I'm getting it written for a different purpose. He says, use this if you wish, or just read it to know that there's something more about Karen and I. I think you have one of, oh, thank you. I think you have one of the better channels, and I believe you truly are helping many people. I'm certain other people have discovered some of the things that I have found, but I never see anything pertaining to it. Nanotech is huge, and that's what is the electronic surveillance is made of. Nobody will find it if you're looking for something recognizable. The date of this all went overt for me was sometime around the summer of 2017. He says, I'm not really sure. Time has gone by, and I've been so busy fighting a very subtle fight. Distraction is an insidious way to war with us. It takes up all of my time. I so get what you're saying, because every distraction takes us away from our focus. And the distraction sometimes can take a lot of time. Sometimes it only takes minutes or seconds, like if they send you an unusual email or phone call or interruption, or, you know, a perp driving up the driveway or whatever. But sometimes it takes so much longer, and then you don't remember where you left off, and then it's sort of like you have to start all over again. So let me just scroll up, see if there's anything else here, because there were so many emails. Okay, so here's a comment that he left, and I asked him if I could read this. This was a comment that he left on the channel under the Louisville, Kentucky message. He writes, door frame pulled away. Well, that sounds real familiar to me. It happened here at our house too. It also appears that the brick mold from around the windows was removed, possibly the whole window. I don't know for sure, but it's certainly obvious that the caulking that was there and painted over is no longer a good weather seal anymore. I've had the exact same thing happen. Even when I've replaced the windows, they've removed the seal again. They've done the same thing to an unattached garage, too. They've usually done a fair repair job to most of the things that I've found that they have removed and put back or altered or rebuilt with a purpose to use for their convenience. I'm not sure why almost all the windows and doors were removed yet. Once I run out of the other ways that they have used as plan A, B, C, and D, and probably many more contingency plans to move their noxious gases through my home, I'm certain the reasons will have become apparent. They have shielded end caps in the door on the floor joists going into the crawl space to hide access and hoses from easily being found, and I tore them out, ranting about this not being anything that I put into my house. I unhooked wires that went to the low voltage transformer for our doorbell, knowing they should not be there. I went to bed and working in the morning, but my wife was home with doors locked, and while she slept in, then never left the house unattended all day. When I came home, I went to follow the wires and removed whatever they powered. But they were gone. And the breaker was tripped off. Then what was behind the bathtub disappeared. And next, Miss was tubing through the fascia and the soffits, the eaves, and what was at the bottom of our siding. Missed them all by not getting them immediately. What runs through the soffit was there, as I took photos. But before I actually picked up the tools that I had ready to use and went in after the tubing and the photos, I heard sounds coming from there. There was a sliding and a scraping like noises. And when I looked inside with the tools and the mirror, I couldn't find anything. Since then, I have discovered that the drywall was removed and cut shorter, then replaced, leaving the spackling between the sheets and the corners, and then taped over, sealing tunnels to move gases between the vapor barrier and the open, taped over joints. Like, this is huge. Then I found that the UV light will show the stains of the gases where it runs through the joints and the stains where it was coming from outlets and light switches, and all from the floor and doors where the drywall sheets end. They loosened the sheets to not be tightly nailed down. They taped and patched it all again, but it's not very well done. I was much more meticulous about sanding it smooth. I know what work is mine and what isn't most of the time. I can even ask my wife if it looks like something I did or would have done. She knows well what it is and isn't likely done by me. I have a brick building next door, and I joke about the self-repairing door that had all the nail heads ground off, and were there holding a very heavy metal sheet on the door. They were working on it so the metal could be removed to get to the heavy wooden door it covered. It was worked on to the point of removing it being possible, but first they had to put in some time to cut the sides smaller to get it out of the frame, and they did. And when I noticed it, it was back on, nailed tightly and neatly, repainted with a very similar looking antique look paint that are in a kit that you can buy to make it look old. People I've told about it, that it's a self-repairing, always suggest that I did it and I don't remember, or while I was sleepwalking, or that some friend came in to help me and fixed it without telling me. Sure. Things like that are always happening here. They never accept what happens and walk off not seeing anything weird about someone doing something like this to get in. A grinder on the main road into town. Nothing odd about any of this stuff or the doors that have been damaged all to hell trying to get inside, especially when all those years, decades earlier, I never even locked anything or pulled keys out of my cars. No one ever disrespected our lives or our property, or would have ever even talked shit about us. Nobody ever messed with me or my things. I had a reputation for being trustworthy, honest, and I was known to be a hard-working stand-up guy who would help anyone, and always good for my word. If someone got my word in a handshake, it's a done deal. In the 40-some years I've lived here, I've built on to the original 24 by 24 hip roof box that had no heat, a water line, and a crawl space that froze when the wind blew, almost no electricity, an outlet and hanging light bulb in each room, and a floor sagging and on rotten sill plates on a falling apart fieldstone foundation. I've done almost everything to this house by myself. With these two hands twice over, more than 40 years of owning this place. I've remodeled and added onto it above, aside, below, in the back of it, making it a new house, even 11 years later, after doing the first initial work that was needed to be done just to live here. I remember when I bought this dump, as described by my wife in 1983 when she interrupted negotiations I was working out with a gentleman who had owned and sold this place several times already. One after another buyer defaulted on the contract sale, leaving him to try to sell it again. She asked to talk outside, and after excusing ourselves, she asked me, "Why do you want to buy this dump?" It was cheap. I told her, yes, it's a dump, but it will be my dump, and I can do anything I want with my dump. The owners watched us for years, amazed that things changed into what we have now. And now, for the first time in our lives, someone has gone incredibly long ways around what used to be what's normal in life as we've known it, to destroy all that we have done, all that we've built, all the good things in our lives, and even have changed the posts on Facebook to have less comments, less likes, less loves, and even reworded stories and anniversary wishes to my wife to make me sound less articulate and having smaller grunting like vocabulary along with comments just too dumb to be anything I would have posted. They're actively shitting on my legacy. Oh, and one other huge thing that they have changed in the house I will have to see about is the rebuilding of my fieldstone foundation in the partial basement under the old part of the house. It's way better than it was before. Now, though it has a double wall with a hollow between to collect the gases, something is going to happen to that soon. It's getting cold out, and I can't have this in a tight home. Well, that is an amazing testimony, I have to tell you. Very amazing. And this was posted on November 3rd in the comments section. And let me see what else we've got here for him. Let's see. He says, I have been a believer in God in my younger years, and I thought that I had accepted Jesus as my Savior. I felt I was born-again Christian who walked with Jesus for some years. I had no epiphanies, no clarity, no internal voice talking to me, except the same one I always used to voice out loud in my inner thoughts as words and statements to be committed to my memory as completed thoughts. To tell you the truth, aside from the acknowledgement of my conscious choice to believe in this idea of his dying for my sins to save my soul, I had felt no change in my life during those young years at all. There was nothing to keep me believing in the silence of his 0 rating of feedback, and God-inspired thoughts to help me navigate the role of a lost young man in the hardest years I had to live through, as the comfort of this world I had become familiar with up until then was being ripped apart. Nobody really seemed to notice the chaos that was left where my life used to be. I was 15. I was disappointed. I was left alone to find my way. I would, but on the night my mother tried, yet again, to get her husband to just talk to me, and he stood there, still as a statue, silent one, too. I smiled in relief despite. My being sad for them both as I watched my father leave, threw tears in my eyes, and I heard her say, "Well, why don't you just go then?" Mom looked down at the door, never looking up as he went out the door, without saying a word. No imaginary friends in the sky put a hand to my head comforting me, or put an arm around me with sympathetic words telling me that this will be okay. I was alone. My Christian mother was alone too. I listened to her crying and nobody consoled her, and no words boomed from the sky either. I wish I would have went to her, but I guess I was bitter. No one thought about me in the breakdown of my family in a most personal way. So time moved so slowly, and I lived my little hell until I was able to get out and be in my own little world, living on my own. I was 17 and learning that I know everything I needed to be the king of my own mind and my destiny. I talked to God in my mind as narrator of my world, and I asked God's opinion about many things. No one ever answered me or attended to me or offered me any help with me in filling all my needs, so I believed in my mind that these two hands, I've done so many things over the 63 years I've been here, that didn't stop to think about faith too much. I had my early years as a good foundation and lived within a code that wasn't me as my guide. I never had to stop and consider what was right or what was wrong. I just knew. And other people knew it too. I was trusted and followed, and I lived as an example. Because you can't tell anyone anything. You show by example. Then something weird happened at my cabin, with someone stalking us out of the wilderness, and I chased him. There was only 40 to 50 feet left between us after I jumped wildly down a long, steep bank in a controlled fall. I ran like hell to the sandbar that was overgrown with willows to close in on what was a much larger gap before that. For 2 hours, I followed him that first night playing cat and mouse. He moved forward, attempting to get ahead, while I moved forward to keep up. I moved to close the gap as he went forward to maintain his distance. After I considered that I had no weapons, no light, and no plan for what I would do if I would catch up to him, I just mumbled, "F you, I'm going home." I went back to my wife, who was pissed at me for being gone for 2 hours. I said, "I was chasing someone. There were 2 of them, and they were watching me while I was getting more wood. I heard them talking, and I went for them. One went along the fence. I went after the guy who ran down to the sandbar. I was following him. She looked dubious and yells at me, 'Who would be out there? Why would they be out there? What would they want?' I just told her, 'That's why I went after them. I could hear them speaking, so I pretended not to notice them until I was ready to go for it. Well, they soon proved that I can't do that.'" Later the next day at dusk, we could hear 6 or 7 of them sneaking in from all directions and howling like wild dogs. We beat feet on home, and that was really only the first time I noticed anything. It was a separate story from what the stalking is. This more involved stalking began around 2015. I think although the other never really stopped, it just went on quietly after the first year. And that was 25 years ago, in year 2000. I really should write a collection of stories. Some are really worth writing. But my point was meant to be that after the chase on the sandbar, things got crazy. And as I said then, I don't know what to be on guard for, because I don't know if these are boys or men. My sister was a psychiatrist at the crisis center, and I asked her if a person could maybe bring his demons to life by noticing them and chasing them here in our reality. And she said, maybe. Then why don't you tell me about this? What's going on? So I told her in detail what happened and what had been going on for a couple of weeks after, up to this call. When I finished what I was willing to tell her, she simply said, I believe you. Oh, you're so lucky. I was surprised by this because I had friends who were with me when the weird things happened, and they always tried to rationalize it away. So I asked her why, like, why do you believe me? She told me that everything I told her was based in reality. No aliens, no spooks, no devils or gods. Crazy people always have a good story, right up to something that's a little out of the range of normal. With that said, things no longer fit into the normal package. I have seen things that are not normal. And those things that have become my new normal, I could give you a list of what I would have thought was crazy talk 2 years ago. But as I've said before, I have, for now, and probably have ever, after my last days, suspended all disbelief. And then he says, check out a video on alternative homesteading that has Lorraine reading some comments of mine on fuming. They are killing me with this shit. I think they don't like what I figured out and about their methods and the nano stuff. Also, how I can see the dermal drugs covering everything, and tiny sensors and other things, monitors, cameras, detectors, relay antennas, and most of all, the people around my place who are wearing Joseph's Technicolor Dream cloak. I'm good at finding anomalies, and that's how you see these things. Doc D is correct about many things. And I like the psychological analysis of how to deal with all of this from his angle. But he shies away from having any dialogue anymore. I have written comments. Things get like, and hard, but the words fall to deaf ears. No feedback from almost anyone. I wanted to share what I found, so it can be discussed and compared to others' eyes and insights, so that we all have a true knowledge, and not just the shill's claims. As I see it so far, we are not able to get away from electronics and from the extensive ease of the deployment and the sheer numbers of these devices able to be activated, but people should know how to see if there are invisible watchers near, and how it really is just that easy for them to know what you're doing, saying, and thinking. It's technology. Maybe true, it was demons who helped them to get the technology. And maybe it's true that demons whisper into the ears of men or shout. The devil is the prince of the airwaves and influences medium, and I, more and more, am believing that I will see the starting of end days. But I won't see it long, and I'm not surprised that I'm in this program, really. I've always told my wife that if we were even to be here to see this shit hit the fan, so to speak, they will unalive me. They know I won't shut up. I've realized through targets who are thinking this was in their lives since they were born, that myself and 2 other children were pulled aside in elementary school, and we spent time being evaluated by psychologists who we three saw regularly. Oh, that's very interesting. That's really interesting. I was tested also as a child on creativity, personality, and stuff. And I don't know. I was like allegedly some creative genius. I don't know. I had some creative talents. I don't even know if this was discussed with my parents. I never thought to ask. My whole life, I've not been paranoid. I've always known that someone was watching. I was only watching for them. And Doc is wrong about police, ambulances, city workers, and buses and planes and deliveries knowing and being in on it, including theater. And they just don't care how many people are affected by this collateral damage to their day. I was in a trip to get back home 1,000 miles away from my mother's 90th birthday and sat in terminal getting takeoff pushed further and further away, back to 6 hours late, and then sat in the plane for almost 5 hours due to weather, technical difficulties, and amazingly they decided to finish changing the tires. And after all that, well, we sat on the plane at 10:30 at night. We then taxied for 2 hours around in O'Hara. And then the weather again. And then we needed to refuel because we used up too much while we were taxiing. We finally left and landed in PA at 4 a.m. I had to wait until 8 a.m. to get in the car that I was supposed to pick up at 9:30 the night before. How nice of them to upgrade me, giving me a brand new Mustang convertible, all ready to fume the hell out of me. Thank the Lord it was a convertible. It wasn't as bad with the top down. Oh my goodness. Well, you know, we've got to have a little humor here while we're being poisoned, right? But anyway, thank you so much, Kenny and Karen, for sharing this story. I really appreciate it. So this is his testimony story. And I will post this. And fairly soon, actually, I will probably go live. Maybe a little bit late, a few minutes late, but I hope everybody enjoyed this, gives the thumbs up. This is a kind of story you want to listen to again and again and again, okay? So let me just see if we can show you the photo again. 1 second here. So this is the pan. This is exactly what I saw in New Jersey. Exactly. It's yellow. You can only see, you cannot see it without a UV or a black light. It looks like normal. Like if you turn off these weird lights, you will not see it. You only see it. Oh my goodness. Look, you've got that. Why? That's the Three Masons. Oh my goodness. You see that? I'm just noticing it now. That's their symbol they leave behind. That Y. That's the Freemasons. That's who's doing it. That's who it is, guys. I'm just noticing that. Well, the devil is in the details. And this is why you need to photograph things at different angles, have different people look at it. I'll see things that you won't see. You'll see things that I won't see. I'll hear things that you don't hear. You'll hear things that I don't hear. So I'm going to post this, and I look forward to your questions and comments. Please remember to hit the thumbs up. Helps the channel grow and get the message out there.